Come on in. We're going to have a seat in these back 4 rows. Anywhere in the back 4 rows. Come on in, back 4 rows, back 4 rows. Anywhere in the back 4 rows. Perfect. Let me get my remote. So, good afternoon. How y'all doing? We've had lunch. How many of y'all are sleepy? I'm sleepy. I had lunch too, and now I just want a nap.
Because it's a rainy day.
Yeah. It was a rainy day. I know, but we're not going to. I see what you tried there, and I really appreciate it. Man, you set it up, and all I had to do was agree, and then we'd be asleep for an hour. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Today, we're going to talk about lighting design. Lighting design, fancy word, right? All it really means is making decisions about light, okay? In order to be a lighting designer, you just have to know a few things about light. So today, what I'm going to teach y'all is the basics. The basics are the 5 pillars of lighting design, okay? With these 5 pillars, you can start to put things together. You can start to make sense of what we're doing. Now, lighting design takes place in a lot of different areas. Of course, we're sitting in a theater, so we're going to talk about theater lighting design today. But it also takes place on film sets, films and movies, concerts. Whether you understand it or believe it or not, it takes place in every building that's constructed. There's a lighting designer that's in charge of lighting office buildings, hospitals, schools. Lighting design takes place everywhere, okay? So what we're going to talk about are the 5 pillars today. And you might want to write these 5 pillars down because they might find their way onto a quiz tomorrow. I'm just saying, I've heard rumors about there being a quiz tomorrow. And so, you know, on Wednesdays, we don't really have a whole lot of time in class. So we use that time to give you quizzes because we like quizzes, right? No, not really. I feel you. We don't like giving them, but we've got to show your parents and we've got to show folks that we are teaching y'all something. So we do that with quizzes. All right, the 5 pillars of lighting design are as follows: intensity, position, color, shape, and motion. I'll say it again: intensity, position, color, shape, and motion. Now, what we're going to do today in our talk is we're going to talk about each one of these. I'm going to tell you what that thing is and also what it does or what purpose it serves. So if you have a lot of questions right now, good. I'm going to answer them. So the first one is intensity. Excuse me. What is intensity? Can anybody tell me what intensity is?
Brightness.
How bright the light is. Ooh, that hurt. That really, really hurt. My bad. I'm sorry. I feel your pain. So, intensity is simply how bright is the light. On the stage, we've got 3 different lights on. Which one is the brightest? Yep, the one on the right. Universally, everybody got that right. See, y'all passed question 1. Everybody passed question 1. All right, what is the point of intensity? Why is it one of the pillars of lighting design? Why do we talk about it? It's real simple.
It's how, how bright it is, so that's how well you can see the light and how well you can see the things the light is projected onto.
Right.
Adding to that, it can also help set the scene. Like if it's really bright, you can kind of infer the tone of the scene
Exactly. So here's the point of intensity. And y'all gonna be mad because it's so simple. Intensity tells us where to look. That's it. It tells us where to look. If this is the lighting for a particular scene, where is all of our attention focused? To the right. We're expecting something to happen on the right, okay? So I set up a little demo here, right? So I'm gonna set the mood. We got a story. The story is cops and robbers. There's a group of 2 detectives, and they're trying to catch some really good bank robbers. These bank robbers have hit banks all up and down California, Oregon, and Washington State, and the police cannot catch them. So in this scene, the police are making a plan. They're going to catch these bank robbers once and for all. They've got a source inside the robbery crew, and that source has told them where the next robbery is going to happen. Didn't tell them when, but it told them what bank. All we got to do is stake out the bank, and we're going to catch them red-handed. The robbers are talking. What happened? Now we looking at the other side of the stage. The cops are still on stage, but they frozen because they in the dark. We not looking at them. We not paying attention to the police no more. We paying attention to the bad guys because they over there, and now they started moving and they talking. They talking about this armored car that they gonna hit. They know when and where. They know what highway it's gonna be on, and they know the perfect place to ambush the armored car. Dun, dun, dun. Now, lighting intensity has helped us set the scene, right? Lighting intensity has also given us the interpretation that both of these conversations are happening at the same time. Why? Because everybody was on stage at the same time, right? How did we tell the audience where to look? We just turned on the lights on one side or the other. When the light goes off, the actors freeze. This is intensity in its most basic form. This is the most basic way that we use intensity. And then we cut to the third scene. Pretend that's the inside of the bank. And we're now expecting something to happen. But because we have used lighting intensity to help push this story forward, what does the audience know? The audience knows that the cops are going to be in an empty bank, waiting on nothing. Ta-da! That's how we use intensity. We tell the audience where to look. And sometimes we can help push the story along and make it just a little bit more interesting than if we would have just lit the whole stage up at once, right? So, pillar number 1, intensity. What does it mean? How bright the light is. What does it do? Tells us where to look. This is how the other 4 pillars are going to go. So next we're going to talk about position. What does position mean? So, do I have a volunteer that is willing to go up on stage and stand in the light? All right, yes, sir. Go right on up there and stand in that light. I love having a volunteer for this portion because I don't want to do it. I don't want to stand on stage. I am a techie at heart. Being on stage in front of an audience is not my jam. I prefer to be in the back of the room, much like I am right now. And I really enjoy being in the back of the room, talking about tech stuff and having y'all at least pretend to listen. I appreciate y'all pretending to listen. I appreciate y'all.
He didn't say we needed paper, so we just.
All right, so what is position? Does anybody want to take a guess? You don't have to be right, but is any,
It's where the light is positioned and how it, where it's positioned.
Yes, yes. Now, I'm going to give you my definition. Your definition was so close. My definition is, where is the light in relationship to where the actor is? Okay? I made that a little bit more complicated, but it's always where's the light in relationship to the actor. We think about a light and we think about the actor. Where is the light in relationship to our actor?
Behind him.
It's behind him and above him. Behind and above. It's important that we try to be as specific as possible because when we go to duplicate these looks, it matters, okay? So it is behind and above. Now, tell me the mood of this scene.
Kind of dramatic.
It's very dramatic, right? Why is it so dramatic?
His face is obscured.
Because his face is obscured. Like when we go and watch a play, we're expecting to see the actors' faces. That is our number one job as lighting designers, to make sure the actors are seen. But we get to decide how they're seen. Now remember, with intensity, we tell the audience where to look, right? So the intensity of this light is telling us where to look. It's telling us to look center stage. But we got crafty with it. We changed the position. Oh man, the drama. We done raised the drama factor, right? Let's try another position. Ooh. Now, instead of being above and directly behind, it's above and behind, but now we've set the light off to one side. So now we got angle coming down, right? It's not very different. I admit that. It's not drastically different than what you just saw. But let me ask you something. Is it still moody? Yeah. Is it still making you feel something? Yeah. Are you still a little bit unsettled? Yeah. All right. Let's look at position 3, okay? Position 3. I'm going to ask you to take a step forward. One more. There we go. Oh, he in the light now. Woo, look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
Hit a pose.
Now, our subject is lit, but only from one side. Now, earlier, we said it's unsettling because we can't see the actor's face, right? That's what we said earlier. Can we see the actor's face right now?
A little bit.
A little bit, right? We got half a face up there. Ooh, this is tension. We can see a little more face than the other two positions, right? Ladies and gentlemen, whether you realize it or not, this lighting actually has a name. It is called hatchet lighting. We are splitting our subject's face in half as if we're splitting it with a hatchet. It is used a lot in horror films. This is lighting that has been used for 50 years in horror films because it allows us to see a part of the actor's face, but the really strong shadow on the other side is what creates that tension. And here's what I mean by strong shadow. One side is lit, but the other side is like dark. Now, let's look at what happens when we start combining these positions, right? We're going to take 2 lights and turn them on. Boom, 2 lights. Take a step to your right. Yep, right there. Now, we got 2 shadows. We got 2 lights. It did not make that much of a difference, right? It's a little bit more drama. It's a little bit. But boom, look at that. Woo, look at that. We got 2 lights on him, right? He lit from both sides, right? We should be able to see everything, right? We should be able to see his whole face. But we can't. He got like a dark spot, like right down the middle of his face. That's still drama though, right? If we unveiled our bad guy like this, dun, 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 like we expect there to be some music there, right? We expect there to be something that lets us know this is the bad guy. This would not be lighting for our hero. This is definitely lighting for our villain because we want those shadows on the face. We want those shadows to symbolize that this is not a good person. Now, what's this? Is this settled or unsettled? It's more settled, right? A little bit more settled. See, I love asking y'all that question because everybody always says settled, but at the end they kind of like, I'm not sure. I'm going to say settled because it's more settled than what we've seen before, but there's still a little something about it that's not quite right. There's still a little something about it that makes you want to go, And this is what we consider a weak shadow. Look at the side of his face that's not in the light. It's not the whole half of his face. If we took this to fractions, this would be like 2/3 lit, 1/3 dark. Okay? That's the part that's still leaving us a little unsettled. It's that portion of the face that's still dark. Now, settled or unsettled? Settled. This is our hero lighting right here. When the hero comes in, we want to be able to see the hero, and we want that hero to be unobstructed. We want to see the cape blowing in the wind so we'd have a fan off stage. I mean, we're going to do it big for our hero. All right, you can come sit back down. Thank you so much. So we talked about position. Position is where's the light in regards to where our actor is. The purpose of position is to create a mood that is settled or unsettled. It's a mood modifier. We're going to be settled or unsettled. Now, I know in a lot of different areas like dance or film, it might not be so dramatic. But on stage, we can jump between those positions and we can create those moods, okay? So we talked about intensity. It is how bright or how dim the light is. The purpose is it tells us where to look. We've covered position. It's where's the light in regards to where our actor is. Its purpose is to leave us settled or unsettled. Now we're going to move on to color. We all know what color is. We've all been learning the names of colors since we were 3 years old. Color is our jam. We know about color. So pop quiz. What is the mood of that stage? Sad, chill, cold. I like that. Sad, chill, or cold. You know what? Semester after semester after semester, when I ask this question, I get the same answers. Sad, cold. About 10% of people will say, underwater. But sad is always first, okay? Ooh, mad, angry, hot, hell, ooh, yeah. See, semester after semester, I get the same answers, right? Now, in fourth hour today, I had one person that said, love. And a bunch of people looked at her like, this ain't love. But let me ask you something, right?
Love is more pink.
What is the color of Valentine's Day? Red. The color of Valentine's Day is red. But the color of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre is also red. Oh. See? Red is a very dynamic color. Red does bring intensity, right? So we talked about pillar number one, intensity, right? If we wanted to lower the anger of this scene, couldn't we lower the intensity of the red and see how that affects our mood? We're not going to, but we could. Because we're only talking about color. We're not going to talk about color plus intensity just yet. Nope, not doing that. We're going to move on to a new color. What's the mood of this? 'Cause I'm happy. Right? It's very calm. It's very happy. Again, these are universal answers. Blue, red, and yellow give us universal answers when we ask about mood. Class after class, semester after semester, year after year, we get the same answers because we all have come to understand colors the same way. Human beings can't agree on a whole lot, right? If you ask human beings if they like SUVs or pickup trucks, you're going to get different answers. If you ask them if they like baseball versus football, you're going to get different answers. But light up a stage blue, and 95% of them are going to say, that's sad. You make the stage yellow, they're going to say, ooh, that's happy. We as human beings can all agree on color for the most part. Unless the color's green. Forest or disgust, right? Disgust is the only mood word out of the two that you put out there. But semester after semester, people say forest. And then they go, that's not a mood. Green doesn't really conjure up a universal mood. Green doesn't do that for us. As a stage lighting color, we kind of stay away from green because it makes people look real funky. But you know where we don't stay away from green? When it comes to villains. We make a lot of villains green. Like the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz, green. The Green Goblin from Spider-Man. Why was it the Green Goblin and not the Yellow Goblin? Because yellow's too happy of a color.
It also sounds better.
The Green Goblin, yeah, you're right. You got the alliteration in there. I didn't think about the alliteration. I like that. But the Green Goblin, because here's the thing, right? How many of y'all remember the first Shrek movie when y'all watched it as little kids? Everybody was scared of Shrek, right? Why? Because he's green. If Shrek had been an ogre that wasn't green, people wouldn't have been as afraid of Shrek. If Shrek was a pink ogre, people would have been like, what's up? Hey. If Shrek was a yellow ogre, people would have been like, high five. Hey, Shrek, how you doing? But he's green. He's got to be bad. Green is not a color that gives us a universal feeling if we bathe the stage in it. But the minute we cover an actor in green makeup, that actor can't be anything but the bad guy. That's the whole purpose of Shrek. Shrek starts off looking like a stereotypical bad guy, but by the end of the movie, you love the dude. And you like, we sorry, we misjudged you, Shrek. Because green is what we bathe our villains in. So now, let's go back. We're going to take a step back, right? We're going to go back in time a little bit to when the stage was red. Somebody said love, and the rest of y'all jumped on them. Very silently, but y'all jumped on them. There was a lot of judgment going through minds. Who would say love? It's not love. And then someone said, well, what if we made it pink? That's love. That's love. You might not love the color pink, but if you had to choose and you're setting the mood for a love scene, I bet you 9 out of 10 of y'all would choose pink over that dark, pure red. Red is too intense, right? Unless the scene is, this dude done stole your girl.
Fair enough, yeah.
He done lied on you. He done planted false evidence about you. And you know that he is not a good guy. You know that he done stole your girl and he gonna cheat on her. He gonna lock her in the tower and ain't nobody gonna see her again. You mad because you in love. Then you might go with that dark red. We might go with a dark red then, okay? But if it's, oh, I saw somebody at lunch and I looked across the lunchroom and they looked at me and I don't know how to ask them out. That's a little more pink. That's the difference between love and passion. Shades of colors exist for a reason. It gives us more options to get the emotion right. Human beings have a lot of intense emotions, from violence to love, and sometimes they get mixed up. And when it gets mixed up, that makes for a good play. But if we start looking at all the shades that red has to offer, we're able to get the scenes a little bit more correct. Now, this is just a random pink that I chose, but there's a lot of different pinks. How many of y'all have seen the Barbie movie? There are whole classes in college now devoted to the Barbie movie. How pink is used in that movie, because there's so many shades of pink. While they were shooting the Barbie movie, they had a hard time painting houses. If you wanted pink for your house, good luck. It was hard to get pink paint for about 6 months because the Barbie movie was buying it all. It got real in the field. But it's because they used one color to express this wide range of emotions. Now, let's also take a quick step back in time. Not here. Let's go back to the blue, to the sadness. Now, somebody said underwater last class. Nobody said it in here, but last class somebody said underwater. What if instead of an intense blue, we went with something a little lighter? Is this more underwater to y'all now? Y'all kind of feeling a little bit, you kind of almost feel the ocean breeze on your face a little bit. You can almost hear the waves, right? See, when we did The Little Mermaid last semester, there was a lot of teal in that show. Because in fact, some of those scenes did take place under the sea. That's why there's a whole song about it. And in order to create that under the sea vibe, I used a lot of shades of blue in that teal range, that teal cyan range, because I wanted it to feel under the sea without feeling sad. See, teal is blue without the sad. It's blue without the depression. And we get teal by mixing blue and green. As we vary the amount of blue and green, we get different shades of teal. We get different shades of blues. Now, let's talk about one of my favorite colors, okay? Color that everybody knows, color that is pretty much universal. Let's talk about white. See, I'm going to give y'all a little history lesson. Just a little history lesson. We're going to go back in time to when we rode dinosaurs, okay? In the lighting world, there was a time when we had to ride dinosaurs. That was called the 80s and the 90s, okay? We had lights that were only one color. They didn't change colors. They weren't fancy. You turn it on, all it was white. We called that color no color. Because see, back in the 80s and the 90s, if we wanted a red light, we had to take a white light and put a red piece of plastic in front of it. Fancy. I know, it was so high tech. But that's how we had to get red, because the light itself was only white. Okay? So we got real good at talking about white. So pop quiz. Everybody wake up. Pop quiz, okay? 1 through 4. 1, 2, 3 across the top, 4 at the bottom. We're going to take a pop quiz. Which one is white? By a show of hands. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. All right. So number 3 got a lot of votes. Number 3 got a lot of votes. That would be the top on the right. Y'all want the answer? They're all white. Womp, womp, womp. All 4 of them are white. What you all are seeing, beautiful humans, is an example of what we call color temperature. See, when humans first made light, we made it with fire. How many of y'all know that fire can be different colors? How many of y'all know fire can be blue? All right. Now, how many of y'all remember how to get blue fire? It's the lowest setting, but it's the hottest setting. The hotter the fire burns, the more it looks blue. You got to add stuff to make it green. But fire, we know fire as being this yellowish, reddish kind of thing. But the hotter it gets, the more it drifts towards blue. That, beautiful humans, is an example of color temperature. Now, this might sound like a new concept to y'all. How many of y'all have never heard of color temperature before? All right, so it's a new concept to one person. Now we're going to take another pop quiz. Wake up, pop quiz number 2, 1 through 4, right? 3 across the top, 4 at the bottom, 1 through 4. Which one is summertime? Number 1? Okay. Number 2? Number 3? Number 4? All right. So, by and large, the class said number 4 is summertime. All right, pop quiz question number 3. I'm not going to give you the answer to number 2 yet. We're going to have question number 3. Which one is winter? Number 1? Number 2? Number 3? Number 4? Beautiful humans, guess what? You all passed. You all understand color temperature. Most of you said 4 is summertime and 3 is wintertime. As human beings, we understand that the sun is a slightly different color depending on the season. Now, if you live in Southern California, you probably would have failed this test because you don't really get winter. You get summer, spring, and then you get cold spring. Like, you don't get 4 seasons, right? But here in the Midwest, here in Kansas and Missouri, oh, we know about winter. Ooh, we get some winter. And we know that the sun is different in the wintertime. It's a little more blue. We know that in the summertime, we get those golden sunsets. You don't get no golden sunsets in December. You get cold blue sunsets. And you're mad because the sun going down because now instead of 30, it's about to be 20. We understand that. So you all understand color temperature, even if you didn't have a name for it. So moving right along, right? We've talked about intensity. We've talked about position. We've talked about color. What's next? Shape. Next, we're going to talk about shape. Okay? Pop quiz. What shape is that? Circle. Y'all all passed kindergarten. Yay! We've been learning shapes since we were babies, okay? Shapes, that was one of those things that we set milestones for. If you're a parent and your child is going into kindergarten and they don't know their shapes, you don't tell nobody because you're embarrassed. You feel like a bad parent. My son's at 5 and he don't know a circle from a square. We're going to talk about that, okay? Shapes are super basic for human beings. Back when we rode dinosaurs and had the gel lights in the 80s and the 90s, when we turned on the light, basically a circle was all we got. We had to learn how to modify and make different shapes, right? So, next shape. What shape is this? It's a rectangle, right? What is that we have created on stage? We have created a door. How did we create a door? We took a rectangle and we plopped it down on the ground. Now, as our hero is journeying to the magical world, they have a door that they can walk up to. If we see our hero walk up to that door, and then we turn out all the lights, he's been transported to a magical world. And then he comes out on the other side and finds this. What did he find on the other side? A house. I know, it's a real simple house. I mean, this house is not going to win any awards. I understand that. But I created it in like 5 minutes using 3 lights. Okay, bear with me. This could be our house, right? So, shape is one of the tools that we use to create a scene. Shape is how we fake a scene. Why? Because it's quick and it's easy. If we need that door to the other side only twice in the whole play, once when our hero goes to the fantasy world and once when he comes back, why would I build that? It's 5 seconds in the beginning and 5 seconds in the end. Why would I build that? Wouldn't it make more sense to just use light to kind of fake it and then put our time, effort, and energy into building other things that are going to get used more, things that the actors actually need to stand on or walk around or jump through? You know, that would be a better use of our time. So shape helps us set a scene. What is that? The moon. Shape can be real effective in setting a scene, right? So now we want to set a nighttime scene. So we throw the moon up there. What could we add if we really wanted to make sure everybody knows it's nighttime? Bam. Stars. Now there's no denying that this is nighttime. No one's going to look at this stage and go, oh, they're about to sit down indoors and have dinner. No one's thinking that, right? Everybody's like, oh, that's nighttime. Good job. Okay? Now, how do we create these things? Shape. We use what are called gobos to create these shapes. This is an example of 3 different gobos. What's a gobo, Mr. Brown? I'm going to pass some around so y'all can see. These are examples of gobos. These gobos are just little sheets of metal with shapes cut out of them. Gobo is an acronym. It stands for Go Before Optic. Theater folks, we nerdy. We get picked on a lot. So sometimes we need to feel good about ourselves. So we come up with complicated names so we feel smart and less weird. So somebody came up with Gobo, Go Before Optics. Back when we were riding dinosaurs and gelling lights, we had light fixtures. Fixtures meant you had a lamp or a light source, and you had a lens that would focus the light. The gobo would go right in between them. Light passes through the gobo, passes through the lens, you get a shape on the wall. Okay? As an undergrad in college, we had to make our own gobos. we had to cut up pop cans and make our own gobos by cutting out the shapes. There were many cut fingers that happened, but we developed a real appreciation for gobos. Now, we're going to go take a look at more gobos. What gobo is that? That's broken glass. Which gobo is that? That's stone. If I were to turn that and move that, where do we think our play is set now? We think that our play is set in a castle. Right now, that right there is a castle wall. Y'all see it now? I know y'all see it now. You didn't see it before, but you see it now. What is that? Now, if we really wanted to do a better job of having a portal to another dimension, this would have been better than the door I created earlier. This right here is real pretty, but I don't really know what to use it for. Now, I will say this. In The Little Mermaid, when Ariel goes to the palace, this is how we decorated the palace walls. We put this up because it looked fancy. Couldn't think of any other way to use it. Now, this gobo is plastic and it has color in it. It doesn't really say anything about a setting, okay? But it is cool because it has color in it. This is also a plastic gobo that gives us shape and color combined. I have no idea what you would use this for, but it's an option. As is this one. There are stars again. We have our nuts and bolts. Shower glass. This is our breakup pattern. I call them tiger stripes. And then we've got our 4 eyes. So those are our selections of gobos, right? Some lend themselves well to creating a mood. Others, not so much. All right, so look what happens when we take those same gobos and we make them blurry. That is a way that we can manipulate our gobos and get a little bit more use out of them, right? Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now, earlier, I used this to make the moon. That's not how it looked when you all saw it. When you all saw it, it looked more like that. All I did was change the focus. When we talk about focus and light, we have what's called a sharp focus, meaning the edges are really crisp and well defined. And then we have what we call a soft focus, meaning the edges are really blurry. By changing the focus, we can use a gobo that otherwise we wouldn't have a use for. Like this, I don't really have a use for this gobo. But the moment I make it super blurry, now I can use this as one of my Northern Lights effects for the play this weekend. Couldn't think of a single reason to use it until I started making it super blurry. That is what I mean when I say focus. Now, there's another way that we manipulate gobos. We manipulate gobos by dropping in a prism with the gobo. All a prism's going to do is copy that gobo. These lights have two different prisms in them, okay? This one is more circular. This one's more linear. But we can modify those shapes by dropping a prism on top, okay? So, shape is how we can cheat. Yep. Keys. There you go. Shape is how we can cheat and create a scene. Pillar number 5, last pillar, motion. In its simplest form, motion is just turning on and off the lights in a sequence. Remember how I told you I used to ride dinosaurs in gel lights back in the 80s and 90s? This was what we used for motion back in the day. We would just push buttons and turn on the lights in different orders. Oh man, that was the height of special effects for concerts back in the day. You would make the lights dance by doing this. But then we got moving lights, right? And moving lights allowed us to take those same gobos and rotate them. We can now put some motion to those gobos. Moving lights also allow us to make the whole entire image move. This is just a simple, what we call a can. The light goes up and it comes down. Real simple. But we can combine those motions. I can make this spin and go up and down. Woo, look at that. Y'all wasn't ready for that, were you? Y'all wasn't ready. See, my genius knows no limits. But there's a different kind of motion that does not involve moving the light at all. That did not do what it was supposed to do. Womp, womp, womp. So the other type of motion is just changing the color. Changing the color qualifies as a type of motion. We can combine a couple of different kind of motions when it comes to color. Here, we're changing the color of the lights, but we're also varying the intensity. And we're doing that together to create kind of this shimmer effect when it comes to color. Okay? So, pillar 5, motion. It is what it sounds like, making the light move in some kind of way. But what does motion do? Motion is special. What it does is it allows you to modify one of the other 4 things we talked about. It allows you to modify things, either intensity, It can make a position more dramatic. It can enhance what the color is doing. And it can also make the shapes move and dance. Motion is our modifier. It is our special effect. It is kind of like the icing on the cake. So, why have I spent time going through all of this? Because I want you all to see what happens when we put it all together. This is an example of what happens when we put it all together. Is this scene daytime or nighttime? Is this scene indoors or outdoors? Is this scene warm or cool? So more likely to lend itself to wintertime, right? This is a scene from the play that's coming up. In this scene, this is what the audience sees. They see a stage. The house is, of course, on the other side of the stage. So imagine the house is over on the other side of the stage. And all we can see is the outside of the house. What happens is we have an actress that comes out, she walks across the stage, and she knocks on the door. Before a single line is uttered, the audience already understands that this woman is walking up to a random house in the dead of night, knocking on the door. All of that is understood because as lighting designers, we did our job. Our job is to tell the parts of the stories that the actors don't. Later, once the actors start to have a conversation, we understand that this woman left for a long time and she's coming back to town and she's looking for someone. But we also understand that she's doing this in the middle of the night, which is kind of odd. It's kind of random, right? But we understand so much of the context because of the lighting design, because of when we put it all together. This is a different scene in the play, right? Is this cold or warm? Indoors, outdoors? More indoors. What we did in the play was all of our scenes that are indoors, they have a yellow tint to them to distinguish between the blue tint that you get when you're outside. Again, we want the audience to understand where we are and what's happening before the actors start talking. When the lights go from completely black to this, we understand that, oh, we're probably not outside anymore. We've used intensity in this scene to not light our trees. Why didn't we light the trees? Because we're inside. Nobody's got trees in their living room like this. You might have a Christmas tree if it's Christmas time, but you're not going to have 6 trees in your living room just chilling, surrounded by a blanket of snow. That's outside. So we cheat by just not lighting the trees, okay? Excuse me. So we've covered all 5 pillars of lighting design. We've talked about what it is. We've talked about the functions that they serve. Why did we spend 30 minutes talking to you all about lights? Not just lights are important. Here's my motivation for giving this talk every semester. I want you all to understand that there are some super cool careers out there in the arts. And by super cool, I mean you can have fun, you can earn a living, you don't have to work in McDonald's. Nothing wrong with working in McDonald's. But no one ever taught me that I could have a job doing art unless I was a performer. I don't want to sing, I don't want to act, I don't want to dance, I don't want to be on stage in front of an audience. There's a reason why I asked for a volunteer to go up there and stand in the light. I don't want to do it. But you can have a great career in the arts. Some folks that I went to college with, man, we all went off and did crazy, amazing things. One of my friends from college, she is a wardrobe designer on Broadway. She was just at the Tony Awards, and she gets to hang out with all these people that I know, but you'll never see her. She dresses them. She repairs their costumes. She makes sure that they look great in all the pictures that they take, but she's behind the scenes. Another friend that I went to college with, she now does lighting and color palettes for hospitals. She moved to New York City. She took this job. She called me. This was about 10 years after we left college, and she said, I'm taking a job working for an architecture firm. I'm like, girl, we've been on the road doing rock and country and hip hop. Like, we've been on the road doing concerts. What do you mean you're going to work for an architecture firm? She's like, well, they're going to pay me over $100,000. I said, oh, they need anybody else? They got any more of them openings there? And now she's in charge of a whole group of people, and all they do is lighting for hospitals. They go through and they choose the color, they choose the lights, and they do that all throughout the hospital. I don't know how much she's making now because she's been there about 15 years, but she just shared on social media her new Porsche. So she must be doing all right because I don't have a Porsche. When she come back through, I'm definitely going to go for a ride, though. A different friend of mine, friend that I met about 10 or 15 years ago as we were doing theater together all around the country, she is on her way to Paris this upcoming summer to do the Olympics. She's going to be doing lighting for the different TV studios that are broadcasting the coverage of the Olympics. So random, right? We all started off doing theater, playing around, having fun. Let's be honest. Most of us get into theater because we don't want a real job. We don't want to go someplace and do something that feels like work. But we do want to go someplace that feels like fun and get paid for it. How many of y'all want to get paid to have fun? How many of y'all have ever been to a concert? I used to go to like 150 concerts a year. How? Because they paid me. I would go to concerts and people would be like, hey man, how much are tickets? I don't know. I don't buy tickets. They pay me to go there. One of the coolest things in the world is to stand on stage and peek out around that curtain and see 20,000 people out there about to watch a show that you're working on. It's cool to fist bump artists that you hear on the radio as they're about to go on stage. It's fun to be 60 feet up in the air fixing lights instead of sitting in an office building staring at a computer. I'm not knocking people that sit in office buildings and stare at computers, but we're not all the same. Not all of us want to do that. Our job as educators is to show you your options in life. We don't get to tell any of you what to do when you grow up. We don't even get to tell you all to grow up. We try every day, and we fail. How many teachers have yelled at you today and told you to stop playing around? No. Not today? What about yesterday? Oh, okay. But every day we try to get y'all to grow up, right? We try to get y'all to stop being kids. Y'all want to know a secret? Every adult that has yelled at you and told you to stop being a kid goes home and plays something. Maybe they play in a band, maybe they play video games, maybe they drive a little too fast on the way home. Play is inside of us. So what I want you all to understand is that as you go through life, you have options. The things that you have to do is when you're an adult, right? You have to earn a living. You have to go out there and do something in this world that makes you money so you can pay your rent and buy your food. No one wants to feed you for the rest of your life. I'm sure your parents have had this conversation with you every time you sit down to dinner because some of y'all eat a lot. I'm looking at the boys in the room. Some of y'all eat a lot. And the bigger y'all get, the more y'all eat. I swear teenagers eat just because y'all are bored. Y'all will have dinner and then 30 minutes later, you'll be back in the kitchen. How many of y'all parents have told y'all, close the door, you ain't hungry, you bored? See? So in life, beautiful humans, you got to go out in the world and you got to earn a living. You got to make some money, okay? But guess what? You can make that money in the arts. You can make money by going out and having a good time. I've had a chance to work with a lot of great artists on a lot of awesome stages. How many of y'all have heard of Lil Uzi Vert? Done shows with him. How many of y'all have heard of Lady Antebellum? Went out on tour with them. How many of y'all have heard of Luke Bryant? Done shows with him. How many of y'all remember bands from the 80s called Guns N' Roses and Poison? Done shows with them. I used to get paid to have fun. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. It's hard work, but it's fun work. You do a concert for a group like Guns N' Roses, it's a 16-hour day. You might start at 6 in the morning and you might get done at midnight. It's a long day, but you're going to have so much fun. And because me and my friends did things like that, some of my friends were able to go on to work for architecture firms and do lighting in hospitals and drive Porsches. That's not what I wanted to do. I would much rather come talk to y'all. I would much rather share my experiences with you all so you know that there's an option. I got lucky, beautiful humans. Nobody told me about this when I was in high school. I didn't see a play. I didn't know anything about theater until I got to college. And that was after taking a detour through the military. I got lucky. I had one professor who said, "Oh, you like doing sound?" I said, "Yeah, I used to play around in recording studios when I was in high school." He said, "Come with me." He took me across the campus to meet his wife. His wife was a theater professor. He said, "Hey, Charlotte, I found your new sound designer." I said, "Huh?" I didn't know the first thing about sound design. I didn't know what it was. And I looked at this man and I was like, "What just happened?" He said, "Relax. I'll teach you everything you need to know." He was the first person that told me I could have a career in the arts. I thought working in recording studios was just a hobby. I didn't know anybody that did it full time. I thought the only way you could have a career in the arts was by being a performer. You're a rapper, you can do it full time. You're an actor, you can do it full time. You're good at sports, you can go off on, be in the NBA, but somebody's got to light all of those games. You know how boring an NBA game is if they played in the dark? You know how low scoring that game would be? First of all, it would never end because the score would be 0-0 forever. You walk in a dark arena and you try to play basketball, nobody's scoring, okay? But that is what today was all about. Today was about showing you that you can make a living and you can have fun doing art. So, let's go back to class. Oh, did y'all give me my gobos back? Yep, okay, cool. Thank you.